Yeah.
Let's get to some headlines from across the state of Texas. We'll start in the high school ranks and a huge breaking news story that came down Saturday, which is Lovejoy, as we mentioned, has been looking for a head coach. Chris Ross left to become the offensive coordinator at Stephen F. Austin.
Which rocks in and of itself.
Good hire by Colby Carthel. That leaves open a big job in the DFW Metroplex. That job has now been filled. It has been filled by Todd Dodge.
He's back.
The retired state champion Texas High School Football Hall of Fame head coach, a 7-time state champion, is coming out of retirement to return to the sidelines to become the head coach of the Lovejoy Leopards. He talked to Matt Stepp. Matt Stepp confirmed this with Coach Dodge on Saturday morning. I'll just read one of the quotes. About mid-football season of this season and going into the playoffs, I kind of knew I wanted to get back in, he told Matt Stepp. I've been close to things watching a bunch of Carroll games. His son, of course, Riley Dodge, head coach at South Lake Carroll. And I've been watching games on Huddle to keep my mind sharp and stay on top of things. So I knew I wanted back in. I feel like I got some gas left in the tank.
AKA Todd Dodge is a football junkie.
Yeah. There's a couple of things. Now, I have not spoken with Coach Dodge, so I want to make sure that I'm laying this out there as this is an I feel thing. Mm-hmm. This is not an I know thing. So Todd Dodge, of course, won 3 consecutive state championships at Westlake and retired for 2 years. He was out for the 2022 and 2023 seasons. I think, or I feel, however you want to say that, I feel like obviously he's still got that football itch, right? And again, this is going to be just speculation here. Todd Dodge is also a grandfather, and Lovejoy would give him an opportunity to live in the DFW Metroplex, and his grandchildren live in the DFW Metroplex.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That is an I feel. I don't know that. Maybe he doesn't like his grandkids. I don't think that's the case. But that to me ticks a lot of boxes there.
Well, and it makes sense, too, because it's hard to find a job up in this area that is not in a multi-school district. You know, like it's few and far between. And he's always been a one-school guy between South Lake Carroll, Westlake, like all of that stuff has always been one-school guy. So it makes sense why Lovejoy would be such an appealing job for him. It's a one-school community. It's a community that's really passionate about football, that has some good talent going through it, and he can come be with the little ones. That seems fantastic.
Absolutely. So Todd Dodge back on the sideline.
And I'm sure his lovely wife Elizabeth was like, please go do something. You're irritating me.
Please
get out of the house.
That is also not a fact. I want to be clear. I want to draw a clear line delineation between fact and speculation.
But Miss Elizabeth's a very smart woman, and it seems pretty on brand.
Another big step bomb coming down. And by the way, this is presently unconfirmed. We have sources telling Dave Campbell's Texas Football, telling Matt Stepp, that tonight, when there is a board meeting down in Hewitt, at Hewitt Midway, that they're going to hire Joe Gillespie to be their next head coach. Joe Gillespie, you may know as the defensive coordinator for TCU. He was a finalist for the Broyles Award, given to the nation's top assistant in 2022 when he helped lead TCU to the national championship game. And now it appears he is primed to get back into the high school coaching world, where he can take over as the head coach at Hewitt Midway. He is a very accomplished high school football coach as well. He started his career as an assistant under Art Briles at Stephenville. He was part of 2 state championship teams there. He was then promoted to head coach at Stephenville, replacing Chad Morris, and would later go on, who would later go on be head coach at SMU in Arkansas. He went 72-23 in 7 seasons as the head coach at Stephenville, including a state championship in 2012. But Joe Gillespie, Matt Stepp reporting on TexasFootball.com that he will be taking over, if a pending board approval tonight, will be taking over as the new head coach of the Hewitt Midway Panthers.
That'd be huge.
Very interesting.
Is he from down there?
I don't know. What a great question.
I just didn't know if it. I mean, it might just be because it's a great job, but I also wonder if there's any sort of family ties down there at all.
That's a great question. I don't know. Honestly.
He might just straight up want to get out of the college game and say,
Yep.
"Hey, let's go be a head coach." You know,
his son Jake just finished his senior season at Aledo and is going to go play at Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches. Nice. So I don't know if that's necessarily like a hop, skip, and a jump, but
well, that might be a closer drive.
Closer than Fort Worth.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will say that. But very interesting as Hewlett Midway appears to be on the verge of making a big splash. Okay, let's bounce back into the college ranks, and let's talk about what's going on at Texas State.
There's
okay?
a lot.
Now, I want to try to paint a full picture of what's going on here, and our Ishmael Johnson has been all over this story on TexasFootball.com. So, a couple of weeks ago, there was a report that Texas State was going to sign Arizona transfer quarterback Jayden de Laura. Mm-hmm. That Jayden de Laura was going to move from he had entered the transfer portal where he was pretty darn successful in Arizona for a couple of years and was going to come to Texas State. As a result, again, this is not a direct, who knows what was going on, but I think we can. Here's another fact of the matter: is that soon after that came out, T.J. Finley, who the incumbent starting quarterback for Texas State, mm-hmm. who had announced he was coming back, entered the transfer portal, and soon announced that he was going to transfer to Western Kentucky. Okay, you follow me? Yep. They go get Jayden de Laura. The current quarterback goes like, no, I'm good, thanks, and heads out and goes to transfers to Western Kentucky. There's a lot of backlash about Jayden de Laura, and the Jayden de Laura, it was considered controversial because of his involvement in a civil case in Hawaii that alleged sexual assault against a fellow minor while he was in high school. Okay, he was involved in a civil case in Hawaii that alleged sexual assault against a fellow minor back when he was in high school. From what I understand, that has since been settled. That has since that case is no longer active. It has come to a close. But there were folks around Texas State who were not pleased with G.J. Kinney and Texas State bringing in Jayden de Laura, in large part because of that.
Right.
Then comes the report, this from our own Mike Craven, broken by Mike Craven on TexasFootball.com. This came down last week, that Jayden de Laura will no longer be transferring to Texas State. Texas State put out a statement. Jayden de Laura has withdrawn from Texas State University as a student and will not be part of the Texas State football program. I don't know whose idea it was for him to not be there. I don't know if this was him looking around saying this isn't the right place for me,
right,
or somebody on staff politely asking him to leave, or not very politely asking him to leave. Whatever the case may be, Jayden de Laura will now not be part of the Texas State football program. So now, what happens to the quarterback situation at Texas State? It's very interesting. I will bring you, Pickle, here's a completely unrelated story. 2 days later, January 26th, our Ishmael Johnson reports that G.J. Kinney at Texas State is close to hiring Chad Morris to be his wide receiver coach and passing game coordinator. Chad Morris, of course, is the former SMU head coach, former Arkansas head coach. He'll be replacing Craig Stutzman, who left to become the offensive coordinator at San Jose State. Okay. The other thing that Chad Morris is
a father,
is Chandler Morris's dad. And Chandler Morris, of course,
just
entered the transfer portal and announced that he was going to transfer to North Texas. Now, from what I understand, ink ain't dry on that.
Nope. Which then
those are
North Texas former starting quarterback
yes.
Chandler Rogers entered the transfer portal after the news of Chandler Morris coming in.
Correct. All of these things may not be connected. They may all be independent stories on TexasFootball.com.
Or They could all be very much connected.
Or they could literally be dominoes.
Yep.
Who are we to say? That is the present state of play here. We haven't heard anything about Chandler Morris and where he's going to land. The last we heard was that he was going to transfer to North Texas. But his dad did just get hired at Texas State, who suddenly needs a quarterback. Mm-hmm. Watch this space. It's been very messy.
It has been messy.
Speaking of transfer portal, this kind of flew under the radar, but this came down early last week that Branson Hickman announced that he is entering the transfer portal. He has been the starting center at SMU for the last 3 seasons. He started 33 games at center over the last 4 years, and was a big part, a key cog in the SMU offensive line as it bridged from Sonny Dykes to Rhett Lashley. He was second-team All-AAC on the offensive line. He will have 1 year of eligibility left. This is a pretty big blow, I think, to to SMU. As they're losing their starting center. So keep an eye on that. Branson Hickman announced that he will be transferring, or rather entering the transfer portal. Keep an eye on that as SMU's starting center is now entering the transfer portal. A couple of headlines out of the burgeoning UTRGV. Mm-hmm. Of course, the head coach there at UTRGV is Coach Travis Bush. He has hired somebody to be their director of high school relations.
A guy he knows pretty well.
He has hired Bruce Bush, his dad. Of course, he's his dad, but that's not to say that Bruce Bush doesn't know his way around football. This is a guy who took Gregory Portland to 2 state championship appearances. He's a member of the THSCA Hall of Honor, an RGV Sports Hall of Famer, and a Coastal Bend Coaches Hall of Famer. A guy who won 271 games in 34 years as a head coach. The Niederland product is back in the game. He's going to be the director of high school relations for his son down at UTRGV.
Did you see the tweet that Travis Bush put out about that? He kind of quote tweeted it afterwards, and he said, this guy gave me my first job out of college. It's only fitting I give him his last. I thought that was pretty
very cool. Very, very cool.
Pretty cool.
Speaking of UTRGV, as Travis Bush continues to fill out his staff, he has brought in Marcus Coleman as an assistant to be their special teams coordinator and cornerback coach. Marcus Coleman, Texas Tech fans may remember him as an All-American defensive back. He was all Southwest Conference twice back in the mid-90s. He has most recently been at Trinity for the last 5 years as their special teams coordinator and defensive backs coach. So keep an eye on that as UTRGV continues to assemble their staff. Marcus Coleman, the newest member of Travis Bush's staff.
Dude, also real fast, just to say this, we talked a lot about recruiting visits looking a lot of fun and stuff like that. If I was on the recruiting staff for UTRGV, I would be in serious trouble because the food that they eat consistently down there, I would be on like my 600-pound life. Like that's literally what would happen. I don't know how they survive because the food always looks so good.
You would be Chunky Pickle.
Yeah. Yes.
There's no way.
No way about it.
Some high school football coaching news to round us out. Canyon Lake has been looking for a head coach down there in Comal ISD. They have found one in the form of Tomball Memorial head coach Sam Parker, who's leaving Tomball Memorial. He was very successful, 93-63 overall as a head coach. He became head coach at Spring when he was 29, and has been really, really strong there at Tomball Memorial, helping them grow. He's had 3 seasons of 10 or more wins. The Cleburne native, of course, is a football lifer. His dad, Dennis Parker, was a head coach, a longtime head coach in Texas, and won a title at Marshall as the head coach in 1990. He's going to be the next head coach at Canyon Lake. So Tomball Memorial is now open. Keep an eye on that. The tradition of the Torres brothers all moving out of El Paso to far-flung areas of the state continues apace as Buda Hayes Consolidated has hired Mark Torres from El Paso Pebble Hills to be their next head coach. Mark Torres has done a phenomenal job there at Pebble Hills, kind of building them very quickly into one of the powerhouses there in El Paso, starting them from a JV schedule in 2015 to go 47-36 over a span, including 18-5 in the last 2 seasons, went 10-2 back in 2022. Hayes is in need of a boost, but I'll tell you that the Torres brothers have a history of doing this. You may remember that his brother Ruben Torres is the head coach at Marlin, and his brother Matt Torres is the head coach at Houston Sharpstown. Now, Paso Pebble Hills, by the way, is going to be a sought-after job out there in the Sun City. Keller Central has made a hire, and it's a name folks may know. Former NFL safety and defensive coordinator from Hearst LD Bell, Eric Vance, will be the next head coach at Keller Central, taking over for Mike Sports, who left earlier this year, as Keller Central has their new head coach in Eric Vance, who was played at Vanderbilt and then went on played 6 seasons in the NFL for the Chargers, Buccaneers, and Patriots. So keep an eye on Keller Central. They have found their new head coach. Finally, back down to New Braunfels. We mentioned this. So New Braunfels is opening another high school. I don't know if you knew this. New Braunfels ISD is opening another high school. It will be New Braunfels Long Creek,
which would give them their third.
I
correct?
think that's right. Yeah,
New Braunfels, and then Canyon, and then now this one.
I believe that's correct. Yes, but New Braunfels is opening Long Creek, and they have found their next head coach. It is Adam Harvey, the co-defensive coordinator from Schertz Clemens. He's going to be their next head coach. He's been at Schertz Clemens the past couple of years. Before that, he spent 2 years as the defensive coordinator at Hutto. But he is going to be the first head coach of the New Braunfels Long Creek Dragons?
Yes, the logo's pretty sick.
The Dragons. The Dragons are going to play us JV schedule 2024, probably an outlaw schedule, varsity schedule in 2025, and then they will be aligned into a UIL district in 2026. So excited to see what Coach Adam Harvey can do there as the new head coach at New Braunfels Long Creek. That is all the news that's fit to print. You can find all that and more at texasfootball.com.